Alright, we're back with some more Higurashi. Last time, the Dodgies are dying, man. They're just getting owned, like, in Matsubayashi. So, they're getting owned. But we got the Rita Hanyuu twist. Was it Hanyuu taking over Rita's body the whole time? Or something? I don't know. Let's just let it cook. See what's happening here. Or is this, this is the outer verso Rita who's somehow Hanyuu too? And maybe that's fucking with the Dodgies right now? I guess that's what it's implying. I mean, that would be terrifying too, because it's literally something beyond human comprehension. I wouldn't blame them for being scared of this. I wonder if it has Rita brackets Hanyuu because they don't know if it's Rita or Hanyuu, which would be kind of funny. I kind of feel like that's what it is, but maybe I'm wrong. Otherwise, it means it's Rita's voice, but it's really Hanyuu. But that sounds like messy. I don't know what that means, man. Once again, you know, it's odds are stacked against Tottenham, man. They're getting help from a fucking 4D being. Unlucky. I mean, they would have won without this, I think. But it's like the cherry on top. I don't think they're fearless. I think they are quite scared right now. Well, what happened? Did they actually kill him? Can't do that. We have the no killing rule. No, sounds can be very deceiving in Higurashi. He might not be getting sliced up right now. Though actually, now that I think, didn't Rita do like the same thing? In Matsubayashi, she just had the god voice. But this is implying that like it's not even Rita doing it. Unless someone has to know how to hack into like radio frequencies, which I'm pretty sure nobody can do here. Or at least have the tattoo. That sounds pretty brutal. Of that? I think there would be a different sound. This sounds like someone's getting sliced up. Train would be like crash, crunch, 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 crunch. Actually, you probably wouldn't even. I mean, maybe you would hear like the initial crunch, but since the train's pretty loud, you probably wouldn't hear much after that.
やだ、そんな死に方ごめんだ。死にたくねえ、死にたくねえ。やめてくれ、山の神様。俺も好きでやってるわけじゃねえんだ。給料もらってや
Yeah,
ってる
it's
だ
just
け
a
なんだ。
job, nothing personal, kid. I'm just, you know, it's just my job to kill some kids, you know, fuck over a whole village. I'm not responsible for that, man.
ウグイスワンより本部。ダメだ、士気の高揚は困難。隊員の脱落と士気低下は深刻。これ以上の戦線維持は困難。損害が増えるだけだ。だから落ち着け、ウグイスワン。他の隊員は野戦の素人ばかりじゃねえか。
I can tell.
お前はあの地獄の卒業生じゃねえか。そのお前が混乱してどうするんだ。
What? Also, like, yeah, imagine going to a real war and being more scared in the fucking mountain. Again, to be fair, it is a little scary right now with Ghost Rika. But yeah.
落ち着け。お前が範を示せ。
Rally the morale, boys.
悪魔だ。悪魔が出た。
Oh. Oh my god, it is Ghost Rika. Ghost Rika, we have a no killing rule. Please stop killing people if you are. Very unethical.
本部、ウグイスワンが落としない。そんな、あの人がやられるなんて。ダメだ、やっぱり悪魔だ。ダメだ。
Yeah, it's like GG, man. I mean, it's been GG for a while, to be fair.
敵は心理戦も上手だってのか。
No, we're using Ghost Warfare.
ガキどものくせに、俺たちを心理戦でまくってのか。
You guys need to retire. You're just not cut out for this job. Radios are usually helpful communication tools, but in this case, they backfired. Nobody had any information on the enemy activities, but they were all constantly interrupting their squad mates with distracting radio chatter. Worked even more effectively because they were in enemy territory and were unfamiliar with the terrain. The best solution would be to make everyone stop using the intercom, but that would give the enemy more chances to attack them individually. Plus they're so spread out, right? Otonori was growing fearful of the club members as he still hadn't grasped their true identities. However, Takano still hadn't realized how serious the situation was. She kept yelling at the mountain gods to get their act together. Otonori could tell she was exactly the type of commander who only commanded to attack and let her men die. Dan, if you guys were just better, then she wouldn't be mad, man. I mean, you can blame Takano for being a bad commander, but I feel like more of the blame goes to the mountain gods who are just trash. But Takano's reckless orders were working in a way. Although the club members were winning, their area of operation was getting smaller. The club members were trying to lure their enemies to one trap after another. In other words, they were defeating the mountain gods by allowing them to come into their territory. The mountain gods were about to be annihilated, but the curtains were closing on the club members' theater too. Otonori realized his enemies were trying to finish this battle in a hurry. If the mountain gods fell back, everything they'd done would be for nothing. Yeah, they're way too deep in to just leave now. He didn't want to, but he had to follow the princess's orders. Otonori figured he was finally about to get his enemies. What the fuck? Did someone just cut my girl? Oh. See? It's fucking... It sounded like she just got sliced up and she had a death cry, but it's just a stupid trap. Jesus. Hear that cry. It's scary, man. Tatano was walking out front and completely absorbed by her own shouting, but her foot got caught in a rope tied around the base of a tree, which triggered a huge log to accelerate from the opposite direction to plow with her in great centripetal force. Okay, I didn't read the whole sentence. I thought her foot just got caught on like a trap that like flipped her upside down. That actually, she just got hit by a log. What the fuck, man? That's painful. By the time she noticed, it was already too late. Tatano took a heavy blow to her side, then tumbled down the slope of the valley. Oh no, man.
Sansa.
Got logged. She got logged on.
お前ら、サンサを助けろ。
Otonodi scolded the two subordinates who were gaping in awe behind him, but the two of them looked at one another like they were hesitant to take another step.
何をしている。さっさと行かんか。しかし、降りた先でまた罠があったら。
Oh my god. See, these guys are ass.
バカ野郎。サンサの身の安全の方が大事だろうが。は。
The two of them rushed down the slope in a hurry, then let their shoulders to Tatano and carefully helped her back. If she fell down the slope, isn't that like where they came from though? Unless it was like a different direction. Because if it's where they came from, then there's not gonna be any more traps. Oh god. Could have killed her, man. Tatano must have hit a rock or something because blood was flowing from her forehead. Her uniform was torn and her arms were covered in scratches.
サンサ、大丈夫ですか。すぐに治療を。おい、衛生担当に連絡。である。え？
Jesus. That looked fucking painful. And she lost her funny hat. They're going too far now. How dare you? Okay. Tatano roared that out, then grabbed her radio and began shouting into it. Her intense rage had completely replaced her usual cool demeanor. Even her trusted advisor Otonodi looked dismayed to see it.
私は高野よ。三刀陸さよ。あんたたちの最上位の上司よ。聞きなさい。鬼もいないし神様もいないわ。もしいるなら戦いなさい。神などその座から引きずり下ろしてやるのよ。ヒバリとウグイスは合流して戦力を立て直しなさい。
This might be the buff they needed. Angry Saito Tatano.
大鳥は白鷺の残存と合流。敵は山頂付近の営林署の資材小屋あたりを
Good call. I think that's literally it.
高所を取られてるわ。
They do have the high ground. The high ground.
あって当たり前よ。差し違えてでも倒しなさい。
サンサ、一旦下がってフォーメーションの再編の許可を。
I mean, she already told them to like group up. That's reorganizing.
脱出も困難になります。
許可できるわけないでしょ。私たちは今。
Yeah, I don't think you retreat now. Just push it, man. They can't really like escape either if it's nighttime. You're not running down the mountain at night when there's still probably some loose traps.
私たちは両手に手をかけてる。あとは締めるだけなの。
サンサ、お怪我に触りません。早く治療を。
うるさいわこのヘボが。
True.
あんたたちがしっかりしていれば。
True. That's what I'm saying. Give Tatano a competent mercenary force, and you know Otonodi could come too because he's pretty competent. But like just some competent guys, and it would be GG, man.
そんな風に口先だけで心配する暇があったら。
Let them use their guns, man.
首でも腕でも引きちぎってここに持ってきやがれ。
At the same time, Otonori received another radio call. Oh no, is this the order to kill Tatano? I feel like Tatano's so mad right now, and plus she knows that they're trying to cut her off, that she might not like go down like she did in Matsubayashi. And by go down, I mean she just kind of ran away. She might be like, "Fuck you, Otonodi." I don't know. Otonodi understood the meaning of that, so he stepped away from Tatano and answered quietly.
指揮者より大鳥1、緊急事態です。野号地の特殊部隊が襲撃を受けたようです。
Oh, never mind. Just helicopter getting fucked over.
H17302 の散布作戦ですが、
Yeah, these guys are just ass. They didn't even have a proper guard for that.
今、野号地に回っていた警察部隊もこちらに急行しているとのことです。
Otonori understood everything. He had been fooled. If the enemies were soldiers in camouflage, then he wouldn't have been fooled. He underestimated them because he thought they were kids. I mean, to be fair, the helicopter thing was literally adults. And he also slightly underestimated the power of the police.
分かった。そいつは東京の格好に伝えたか。
Fuck Cuckoo.
どうした？格好との連絡がつきません。あらゆる緊急ルートを介してもなしのつぶてです。
Cuckoo is screwed.
東京に何かあったか、あるいは見捨てられたってことか。
Huh? Maybe he won't betray this time. Because they don't care about the mountain dogs either now. Might as well ride and die with Tatano at this point, right? After that masochistic fit of laughter, Otonori slammed his fist into a nearby tree. Ouch. In reality, while he received a lot of money to go along with Tatano's self-complacency, he had been planning to push all the responsibility onto her after this. And as soon as he received contact from the real masters in Tokyo, he would have been ordered to kill Tatano and surrender. True. But now that all contact had been cut off, they were in the same position. If they surrendered in this situation, naturally they would be charged with their crimes, enough so that their very lives would be at stake. He realized that he, who was supposed to keep an eye on the dancing clown, was inadvertently seen as one of the complicit clowns. Nevertheless, Otonori did his best to calm his burning, hateful thoughts. Yes, he couldn't bear to let it end this way. He had thought about running away for a moment, but his pride wouldn't allow that. Strategically, there was no way to win or escape, in which case he had to be at least be tactical. Just one small stale victory would enough to bring him satisfaction. With that in mind, Otonori raised his head and addressed his subordinate over the intercom.
作戦を変更だ。R の捜索部隊を全部こちらに回せ。山犬部隊の底力を。
One group assault. Okay, I like this. I like this. No betrayal. We're going balls to the walls. Team Tatano, baby. Otonori cut off his intercom and walked over to Tatano, who was still shouting. He muttered to himself that it would be the last time he ever spoke to her, then gave a salute and spoke up. Wait, is he still betraying? Is he just gonna kill Tatano and then, like, go attack the kids? What's the point, though? Might as well keep her alive. Or just, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Is that good or bad? I can't tell. My right ankle was throbbing and inflamed. Oh, this is Tatano, I think. It must have happened when I stumbled earlier. It didn't hurt as much at first, but the pain gradually accumulated as I continued running, and by now it was bad enough I was dragging my foot a little as I walked. Oh no, this is Rita. Oh yeah, because Rita literally hasn't been doing anything, except for Rita's roast, but that doesn't really count. Keiichi and Mio couldn't bear to simulate that, so they told me to hide behind a storage hut. Keiichi's plan was designed to keep our enemies away from me, of course. However, I disregarded their concerns and took a detour through the mountains to arrive back at the shrine? This is horrible news? I mean, in theory it would be good, but they literally made Takano retreat, so they might actually face off here. The shrine grounds were deserted. Did Takano's minions think I'd never come back this way? It's actually kind of a smart plan, to be honest, if it worked. I made sure the coast was clear, then headed toward the ritual storehouse off in the distance. The lock had been removed, and the door was slightly ajar. That was probably Tomotachi's handiwork, done on Takano's behalf on the night of the Watanagashi. Get me in there. Wait, this is Rita Hanyuu. So was Rita really... that means Rita was cooking on the Wati-Tatis, or no? Because they're implying that the Rita we know is really Hanyuu and... it's Rita, it's Hanyuu. I don't know what's happening, man. I felt the door's heavy resistance as opened it and took a peek inside. The floor immediately looked... The floor immediately inside was covered in a thick layer of white dust. Judging by the lack of footprints, Takano and Tomotachi must not have gone inside. The two of them must have had their falling out after they unlocked the door, leading to Tomotachi being chased, and then... It's alright, this is Tomotachi, I'm sure he'll be fine. I mean, it'd be crazy if Tomotachi was dead, actually. I told myself that deep in my heart, then stepped into the ritual storehouse. I could faintly hear intermittent gunshots coming from far away. At first, hearing them made my emotions swing between happy and sad, but then I realized the gunshots would cease if the club members had been defeated. So I convinced myself that those consecutive gunshots meant they were still alive and gently closed the entrance door. The room quickly fell silent and had a musty atmosphere, which made me start to feel cold. The dusky red sun I saw just before heading here was finally getting dimmer. The entire area would be bathed in darkness. In which case, the mountain gods would have to consider retreat since they weren't familiar with the local terrain. The opposition was clearly at a disadvantage in this battle, and considering what we heard from Mion and Rena about never seeing any helicopters overhead, it's safe to assume that the H-173 dispersal operation has failed. And now all of the Sonozaki's family's private soldiers and the police who were surrounding the clinic would be heading here, which would put the mounted odds in an even more precarious position. So, what will Takano do now? The leader of the faction that opposed the Alphabet Project were already taken down. The people instigating Takano had also pulled out. In other words, her plans had already lost their legitimacy. So they no longer had any cause to invoke the emergency manual. Takano could be arrested for causing a riot, or maybe they'd silence her in order to bury this conspiracy in the darkness. Either way, Takano would lose everything she had, and she'd forever lose the opportunity to make her wish come true. She was, quite literally, doomed. Thinking about it like that, I felt sorry for her. She took over her grandfather's research and was passionate about studying Hinamizawa syndrome. That diligent attitude was the reason Irie had so much trouble believing Takano could be behind this conspiracy. And how must she have felt to have something she so earnestly worked towards suddenly taken away? No need to think about it, it was nothing short of utter despair. And just as Akasaka indicated, if someone offered her surface level comfort, who could blame her for wanting to cling to it? Hey, it's not over till it's over. Don't count your aids until they hatch. After suddenly muttering that, I felt uncomfortable. When she fired that signal flare in front of me in the shrine grounds, I was so full of dark bloodlust that I wanted to tear her body apart like a piece of meat. Although I couldn't help but feel horrendously hateful, what could change my mind at this point? Pity? Sympathy? Or maybe something completely different? I let out a sigh and shook my head. Takano would utterly reject those thoughts. Or maybe she'd take it as an insult and it would only exacerbate her hatred. She and I were completely incompatible. Plus, there's something else I had to do here.
Rika. Rika.
I called out to her as I looked through this dimly lit room, then listened. When I looked inside through the gap in the door, I was certain I could feel her presence. It was a very familiar sensation, a unique feeling I could sense no matter how long we'd been apart. Even if I couldn't see her, and even if I couldn't hear her voice, I'm certain the feeling was getting through to me. So, I followed the signal I was sensing and walked in the direction that made it feel stronger. Eventually, I stopped in front of the sacred altar. It was decorated with something that looked like a small crystal ball emanating a faint glow. And I could clearly hear her voice emanating from within. So was Rika Hanyuu the whole time? Is that what they're saying? But it doesn't really make sense. Because she was like, where's Hanyuu? And when did the switch happen?
Rika.
The crystal ball was roughly the size of a large marble, but it was carefully displayed on a small cushion, which made it clear it was more than a mere marble. There was a reason for that, because that ball was a treasure I entrusted to the Furude family ages ago. I knew the purpose of the crystal ball, so I gently picked it up and held it against my ear. That moment, two consciousness melded together and the surrounding area was bathed in light. Beam me up.
Hanyuu. やっと会えたわね。ええ。ごめんなさいなのです、リカ。ずっとあなたを一人にさせてしまって。最初は驚いたわ。でも、あなたの気配をすぐに感じ取ることができたから、割と早く冷静に帰ることができたけどね。僕は全然感じなかったのです。だから目覚めた時から不安で怖くて、それどころか自分のことをリカだと勘違いしてしまっていたなんて。
Okay, so it was Hanyuu from the beginning, and she just didn't really understand what the fuck was happening.
無理もないわよ。
I see it, and Rita was the one like whispering shit from above. Okay.
だってあなたはこの世界に来た時から、私
How'd
の
that
体を
happen?
支配していたんだもの。まして私たちはこれまで記憶と意識、感覚すらも共有してきた。あなたが私だと錯覚してしまっても別に不思議じゃ
Yeah,
ないと
I
思
mean,
う。
that made sense, I guess, yeah. True.
リカ。
Surprisingly enough, Rika wasn't sad or angry. In fact, she was comforting me in a gentle tone of voice. Even though she was trapped inside the marble all this time. How courageous. I finally realized it on the night of the Higurashi, when I saw my reflection in the river. I was Hanyuu the whole time. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but when I saw it lit by the moonlight, I froze in place, like all the blood in my body had run cold. Because what I saw in the water wasn't Rika's face, it was the face of the girl I've been trying to find all this time, Hanyuu. And the proof of that was in the shadows, floating in the reflection of the face, that clearly took the shape of a pair of horns. What on earth does this mean? What is Hanyuu's face doing here? That moment, all my memories flashed through my mind like a video on fast forward. The shock of Hanyuu not being here, withdrawing into my shell. The incredible compassion of Keiichi reaching out to me, which I couldn't believe at first. And even while working to solve the club members' problems, I always kept to a reactive approach, and was slow to deal with them. No, that's weird. There's something wrong? Something felt off about all those experiences. If I was really Rika, would I have behaved so clumsily? No, she trusts them unconditionally and actively worked to solve their problems. I mean, Rita's been wishy-washy sometimes too. Honestly, I didn't really think Hanyuu acted so out of part from Rika. We've seen her clearly do that in Matsubayashi too. And after that, she'd tell them the truth and ask for their support, wouldn't she? That's right. It's strange and abnormal, just like I thought. The Rika I knew had regained her unwavering heart in the previous world. She was determined to fight in the next one. And as proof of that is that I have memories of Tatano being revealed as a culprit, even though I never suspected her before that. But I didn't have Hanyuu by my side, so I was definitely worried that I wouldn't be able to repeat worlds like before, and that thought twisted my emotions all around. No, it's even more strange if that's the case. If I rushed to Keiichi and the others as soon as I regained consciousness, then confided with them and sought their help, all my anxiety would be resolved. And yet, why didn't I? Why did I become such a cowardly, distrusting, miserable person? Well, it's not like Rita did that either. Took her a bit. Or maybe this is my original personality? But if so, that means...
嘘。そんな。じゃあ今ここにいる僕はまさか。
リカちゃん、おい、リ
I'm
カちゃん。
fucking tripping out, man. I was trembling so hard I couldn't respond to Keiichi's call as I clung to my head. And after 3 short steps, I bumped into a large stone that I didn't realize was there and let out a brief scream as I fell to the ground.
大丈夫か、リカちゃん。
Ouchie.
立てるか。怪我してなきゃいいんだけど。
Keiichi was standing right in front of me, crouched down and holding his hand out to me. As I stared at his hand, I had a thought. This hand, all this kindness were directed at Rika Furude. In which case, if that's not who I really am, then do I even have the right to accept it? So I couldn't reach out and grab his hand. I didn't have the courage to even do that. After that, we went deep in the mountains to search for Tomodachi, but I slipped and fell into the swamp, and the events after that were a major turning point in confirming my own existence. Back to where you came from, the swamp. She finds her fucking spaceship in there. When my body was thrown off the crumbling cliff and into the air, I landed in the stagnant swamp and got sucked down, unable to pull myself up. No matter how hard I tried, my body continued sinking rather than floating back up. It was a world where I couldn't see anything, even when I opened my eyes. My mouth and my nose were unable to breathe. I felt the pain of my consciousness rapidly fading away. In that moment, I realized this was my death. No way, this is where I die? Even after working so hard and doing so much to overcome the dead end that fate handed me? Keiichi, Akasaka, you were dependable allies, and your willingness to help me was more encouraging than anything I'd seen before. Is an accident like this going to make that all end in vain? No. No. No, 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 no. There's still something I need to do. Entire mountains of things I need to do. I want to go on living. I can't die yet. That's right, I want to live. There's no way I can die in a place like this. In my rapidly fading consciousness, I shouted to myself, squeezing out all of my remaining strength and stretching my arms out overhead. Then I TP'd. The moment the pain disappeared, I woke up and I couldn't believe it when I looked at my surroundings. Because what I saw before me was the inside of Rita's room, no doubt about it. And I was just getting out of bed. Damn, so I guess the idea that Tomodachi brought her here is wrong, huh? I looked at my hands and clothes, not a speck of dirt on them. But how? I'm certain I fell into that swamp.
ケイイチ
リカちゃん本当にリカちゃんなんだよな
Right there, Keiichi was covered in mud and charged into the room to hug me, with his face full of joy and relief. Seeing him like that, I realized that was no dream, that was reality.
むしろリカちゃん君の方こそ大丈夫かいさっき入江先生から熱を出して寝込んでいるって聞いたんだけど
まあ確かにリカさんはもう心配ないようですね。やっぱり過労からの一時的な発熱だったんでしょうな。
特にリカさんは病み上がりなんですから、あまり無理はなさらずに。
Yep. After that, based on what Akasaka, Oishi, and Irie told me, I sorted my muddled memories and was finally convinced. I see. This world exists in a slightly different possibility along the original time axis. A parallel world, you could say. They know it's the console arts. It was all the same, even up until the point where Rita Fude worked with Keiichi and the others to circumvent the tragedies. The only difference was that after her performance at the Watanashi festival, she fainted from all the fatigue combined with the injuries she suffered. In other words, in my struggle to avoid certain death, I subconsciously activated an ability that allowed me to assimilate a Rita who didn't fall into the swamp. Oh. What? How does that work, though? So we jumped to a different world? But, like, how does that work? Because Keiichi still thought she, like, fell into the swamp. I don't get that. It can't be jumping into a different world, because then Keiichi would be tripping the fuck out.
確かに時間を巻き戻すことは今までにも行ってきましたが、別におかしくはないと思うわよ。私たちは今までにも幾百幾千の回数で時間軸を遡ってきた。だけどその結末が完全に同じであった時は
Yeah, it's not just time travel.
いえ、全く
Otherwise, it would be the same.
つまり私たちは可能性によって枝分
I
か
thought
れした
Hanyuu would know that.
平行世界を数限りなく旅してきたことになる。だったらその横に隣接する世界に次元の壁を踏み越えて移動する力があなたにあったとしても
But how does that explain
私
Keiichi?
は驚かない。
If it's in a world where Rita never fell into the swamp, then why was Keiichi tweaking?
あなたは柔軟ですね、リカ。僕はまだ今一つ納得できない。あんたは考えすぎなのよ、ハニー。今ここにあるのが確かな現実でしょ。それに落ちたのがあなた
And
じゃな
the
く
mountain
私
god saw Rita fall into the
間違いな
swamp.
く死んでいた。
Unless what she did was that she took a Rita from another world and brought her to this world and then just used her. Which means the Rita that fell into the swamp just died? What that?
ただかなり強引に能力が発動したせいか、沼の周りにいた圭一と
No,
山
that,
犬
I
た
guess
ち
that
の
answers
一部が
that.
巻き込んでしまったみたいだけどね。
Alright, never mind. They answered it. So they got warped too. Which makes more sense than us warping another Rita from another world, I guess, into ours. It's just as Rita said. Keiichi rushed to the house back then, thinking I had died in the swamp. In other words, he retained his memories of the world before the shift. And the strength and warmth of his painfully tight heart still lingered inside this body.
それにしてもどうしてこんなことになったのでしょう。僕の意識がリカの体の中に入って、その一方であなたがその水晶の
Yeah,
中
that's a
に
little
閉
weird.
じ込められるなんて。今までだってこんな不可思議な現象は一度も起こったことがなかったのに。私にも わからない。でもなんとなくあなたのあの時の最後の願い事、あなたは
最後の
And she's like, I want to play too. So she gets to play in Rita's body. Or whatever. I forgot what it was exactly. When Keiichi and the other club members were slaughtered by Takano and her men, and then finally Rita had her stomach torn open, I just kept crying and crying. Even though things were starting to go well, it was so disappointing. I was so sad that everyone was killed, and witnessing Rita's brutal murder with my own eyes was so painful it felt like my chest was being torn apart from inside.
Hanyuu.
Even so, Rita didn't show any of her past resignation or despair. On the contrary, she looked up at me with a bright look in her eyes and spoke to me.
私はくじけない。
That is not the CG. That's the CG of when she fell off the mountain, man. What do you mean it's nighttime? Why is it bright out?
この記憶がたとえ引き継げなくてもいい。
It's funny. And we can use this at least for thumbnail, but that's not even the right CG, man. What are you doing?
がむしゃらに生きていく。6月の狭い日々にしか生きられなくなり、最後には綿流しの日にしか生きていられない存在になってもいい。それが私のせいなら、精一杯生きて、
僕も忘れません。きっと覚えてて、もしリカが忘れていたら、きっと僕が教えますから。
羽生、あなたはやっぱり冷たい傍観者のふりをしていたのは、
僕もみんなと楽しく過ごす未来に行きたかったです。
Then, I was in such a deep sorrow. I took my true feelings, the ones I'd patiently endured and kept hidden all this time, and put them into words. In other words, I was able to borrow Rita's body and visit everyone. As a result of that wish, that determination.
でも、だったらリカだけが蚊帳の外に置かれたということになってしまいます。運命は僕よりもリカの存在こそ必要としていたはず。なのに僕があなたの代わりになってしまっては何の意味もないではありませんか。
思い出して、羽生。最後のこの世界へ行くとき、あなたはレナに何か言われたことがあるでしょう。
Right. I recalled what Rena was saying back then.
ね
We're floating.
え、あなた。
Rena turned toward me, even though she couldn't possibly have seen me, and spoke.
あなた、信じてた？運命に打ち勝てるって信じててくれた？触れることができなくても、喋ることができなくても、信じることはできるんだよ。あなたも信じてくれたなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。僕が信じて何が変わったのでしょうか。僕は何もできない非力な存在なのです。僕は見ていることしかできない、受け入れることしかできない。そんな僕が信じるだけで奇跡が起こせたというのですか。
ああ、起こせたな。
Keiichi stated it clearly. They're trying to give me PTSD of this scene, man. Can't make me. Can't hit me in the feels. He wasn't trying to blame her, he was just stating the truth.
そうだね。あの時、こっちは6人だった。向こうは7人だった。あなたが信じてくれてたら、それだけで心は7つだった。だったなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。奇跡はね、触れたり喋ったりで起こすんじゃないんだよ。信じる気持ちが起こすんだよ。 名前も知らないあなた。あなたにも悲しみや辛さと戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたも運命と戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたが望んだならみんなが望む世界にきっと行けた。それがあなただけが信じなかっただけでたどり着けなかったなら、それはあなたの責任なの。
Only faith can create a miracle. That sounds like something you might hear in a fairy tale. It's not easy to put it into action. People suspect others, they don't trust others. It's easy to not have hope. It's so difficult to believe. That's why faith can make miracles happen. And
あなたもみんなという言葉に含まれてるんだよ。ほら、いつまでも泣いてないで行こう。
as she said that, Rena, and not just her, Keiichi, Rika, and all the others, they all reached their hands out to me. I was so happy. I always thought I was the only one who was different from the rest of them. Their kindness was so lovely. Let's give it a try. I don't know what the end result may be. No, I can't even imagine from what point the next world might begin. But even so, I'll do it. What I need right now is the courage to take a step forward. And at the same time, I made a vow from the bottom of my heart. I want to move on to a future where our friends can live happily with Rika, and this time I won't be sitting as a bystander. I'll believe alongside everyone else and I'll fight. I don't know what I can do with no physical shape or form. Still, for Rita's sake and for our diligent and kind-hearted friends, I'll think hard about what I might be able to contribute, and I'll fight as hard as I can with all my strength.
リカ、やっと僕は分かりましたのです。
And then, I turned toward Rika, who was gently smiling right in front of me.
レナの言う通りなのです。何もできない傍観するだけの存在だった僕は、あなたたちの頑張りに対してもどこか人事だった。当事者になって困難に立ち向かうことがこんなにも辛くて苦しくて、心と体を切り刻まれるような大変さを伴うものだということを理解していなかった。こんな僕に理科を励ます資格などない。ましてあなたの頑張りに無駄だと水を差すことなど実におこがましくて傲慢だ。こんな大切なことを僕は今まで気づかずにいたのですね。
羽生、
リカ、正直に打ち明けます。僕が本当に望んでいたのはあなたの幸せではなかった。僕自身の幸せでした。
Dun dun dun. When I first met Rita and saw what she looked like for the first time in years, I was so surprised I gasped because her face just looked like my daughter, Oka.
ニパー。
Even though nobody else could sense my presence, Rita would always give me an innocent smile. That sight had me mesmerized from the bottom of my heart. So I started staying by her side all the time and doing all sorts of things to look after her. I kept hoping that she'd become a good girl that everyone loved, and to that end I generously shared my skills and knowledge with her in order to guide her growth. About the weather, about cooking. Anytime she asked a small question, I'd answer politely in a way enough for a child to understand. Eventually, by doing so all the time, I became a valued presence to Rita, who she could always rely on to respond to her wishes, and it gradually grew into a deep trust and affection. It was really fun, and I was so happy. After being separated from my family after such a long slumber, I lived a lonely life since my reawakening. So having the opportunity to interact with someone brought me irresistible bliss. However, one day I saw it. Rita was being harshly reprimanded by her mother. I was puzzled at first, wondering what such a perfect girl could have done to upset anyone. But while listening to this reproachful conversation, I gradually came to understand the reason, and I recognized my sin. Come to think of it, these days, Rita hasn't been getting along with her mother. Everyone loves being praised more than people being angry with them. You hope that your wish will be granted, not refused. Nevertheless, you have to know the meaning of why some things are praiseworthy or upsetting, and understand why some things are rejected, but others are fulfilled. That takes discipline. But I always wanted to see Rita smiling and happy, so I took all of her mother's opportunities to praise her and fulfill her wishes and made them my own. And as a result, Rita started thinking her mother was always angry with her and wouldn't listen to anything she said. And her mother started feeling creeped out that her daughter was able to do things that she never taught her. By the time I noticed, it was already too late.
確かにそうね。私はあなたと話している方がよっぽどためになると思っていた。うるさくて厳しい母親に近づいても嫌な気分になるだけだったから。
リカのお母さんには本当に悪いことをしてしまったと思いますです。だから僕はせめて彼女が心の底で願っていたこと、あなたの幸せだけはしっかりと叶えてあげようと心に決めたのです。でもそれをぶち壊しにするような事件が起きました。
In June of 1983, mysterious deaths continue to happen year after year, which even claimed the lives of Rita's parents one year, and one time while I was thinking over who might be responsible. For a moment I doubted my eyes. I was at the main hall of the Furude shrine, a site I should have been intimately familiar with. But on the altar at the top of the stairs, I saw the bloody corpse of a girl. And not only that, but it was...
リカ。
そんなこともあったわね。
駆け寄って声をかけても体をゆすってもリカは動きませんでした。息もしていなくてもう完全に手遅れでした。最初に感じたのは悲しみ、そして怒りと恨みからの復讐の思いでした。でも僕はそれ以上にリカと過ごした幸せな時間を失いたくなかった。だからかつての同胞の掟に逆らってあなたに同化し時間を巻き戻しました。そして惨劇に巻き込まれて命を落とすようなことがないよう、その運命の分岐点を一緒に探そうと思いましたのです。
おかげで同じ時間を無限に繰り返して生きる人であって人ならぬ存在になってしまったけどね。でも最初の巻き戻しで私を死地から呼び戻してくれたことは感謝しているわ。おかげで私いろんな人と出会ってたくさんのことを学ぶきっかけを得ることができたから。
でもそれがそもそもの間違いでした。
After rewinding time hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of times while searching for a way to avert the tragedy, Rita came to completely depend on me. And along with that, her old homely and submissive personality slowly faded away.
失敗してもまたやり直せばいいじゃない。次はどんな感じに殺されるのかしら。
It was a pessimistic thought process born from resignation and despair. As she became increasingly reluctant to move away from the status quo, she eventually stopped believing in hope. In the beginning, Rita would listen when I encouraged her and urged her to keep going, but those words no longer reached her ears. So I turned the tables on her, Next time I reached her by enticing her to rebel.
どうせ無駄なのです。結局何も期待はできませんです。
Rita may have felt provoked by that. She regained the motivation to deny my one-sided pessimism. My forsaken attitude in fact worked, however. Is there really a path to a happy future? I guess you could call this a supernatural power that my words have. The more I said those words to her, the more obsessed with that doubt I became. So it's kind of explaining her personality in Minaroshi, how, it kind of pissed me off, but... So she was originally trying to help, but it turned out to her actually believing that they didn't really do anything about anything. In fact, even after rewinding time hundreds of times, Rita never managed to escape her death. Maybe I was just forcing a child who was originally fated to die to keep on suffering through life? Is it even possible to change a fate predetermined by nature? And that thought seemed to get transmitted to her, because Rita hid in her shell once again, giving up on trying to overcome fate. Right, that was around the time Rita started drinking that grape juice that looked like wine. But at that point, I no longer knew how to talk to her. Teaching her something I didn't believe in myself wouldn't just be meaningless, it would be hypocritical. That's why the two of us just aimlessly continued this repeating cycle.
僕は結局理科を導くことができなかった。圭一たちのような励ましをあなたにしてあげることができなかった。それはきっと僕自身があなたの苦しさや辛さを本当の意味で理解していなかったからだと思いますのです。
羽生、
ごめんなさい、リカ。僕のせいであなたは。
いいのよ。そんなに自分を責めないで。
Softly, Rita reached her hand out and gently stroked my head. When I looked up, stunned, Rita was quietly shaking her head.
信じていなかったのは私も同じなの。幸せをつかんでみせると言っておきながら、結局仲間任せの気持ちを捨て去ることができなかった。それにどこかで甘えがあったのも確かよ。今度の世界で失敗してもまた次にやり直せばいい、そんな風に思って覚悟が足りていなかった。きっと神様のきつい戒めだったのかもね。だからこうやって自分の体と心を引き剥がされてしまった。
Hopefully we can put it back at the end of this though. Otherwise it's just gonna be awkward.
中途半端な思いで命がけになってくれているみんな
Though
を
that
巻き込
kind of
もう
is
と
like
す
a
る
cool
考えが
alternative ending.
とて
If
も
the Rita
失礼。
just stays trapped here and becomes
Hido no
Castle,
koto
while Hanyuu lives happily in Rita's body. Which she kind of has been wanting to, or at least be in physical form for a while, right?
リカ。
この世界を離れてみてよくわかったわ。幸せも不幸も生きているからこそ感じられる喜びなの。だからみんな一瞬一瞬を大切に懸命に生きようとする。無限に生きてきたおかげで私はそんなことも忘れてしまっていた。だから結局綺麗事を言っていたのは私も同じよ。それをみんなが、そしてあなたが教えてくれた。私の方こそごめんなさい。
Rita gently held my hand as she said that. It was soft and warm. Holding her hand felt so pleasant.
そうですね。僕たちはお互いにちょっとずつ間違っていたんですね。
外から自分の姿を見てそのことに気づけただけでも私、あなたのおかげよ。ありがとう、羽生。
そう言ってくれると 僕も救われた気分になれるのです。この体、そろそろあなたにお返ししますです。おかげで楽しい思いをさせてもらい
Can
ま
we
した。
just do that? I mean, that's good, I guess, if we can just send her back. Do we eat the orb, the crystal? I rested my face against the tip of Rita's nose and lightly rubbed it with my forehead. That moment, our bodies were wrapped in a fierce whirlwind. Then our bodies began to feel light and we rose into the air. Return, Rita! It's your time to take action. But I think that's where we're gonna end the episode, because we're at the hour mark. Thank you guys for watching it. What a plot twist. Didn't see that coming. And next time, we'll see what happens next. Rita's back in the game, officially. Exciting stuff here.